What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Games, and today we are bringing you Chaos Lightsworns. Now it's not just normal Chaos Lightsworns, it's not 60 card Lightsworns, it's not a rocket engine, it is actually Lightsworns with Twilight Swarms with a Chaos engine to make the deck more themed operated, but just as powerful. It's an incredibly fun deck that always works on milling your deck down to then get additional extenders, to get additional effects, and then to abuse the brand new Chaos Engine or the most recent Chaos Engine to banish them from the graveyard and able to bring out even stronger monsters and help you link climb or XYZ summon that almighty powerful Minerva to lead you into more draws, more involvement, and ultimately winning the duel. Whether it be setting up a defensive board or going a full-on aggressive board, the deck pretty much has it all. All it is missing now is having Snow back to 1. And with all that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content from the channel. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the deck list for Lightsworn Chaos. So, for the monsters we play triple Raiden, triple Wolf, double Lumina Lightsworn Summoner, double Lumina Twilight Swan Shaman, one Lila Twilight Swan Enchantress, one Raikou Twilight Swan Fighter, and then we've got one Minerva Lightsworn Maiden, one Felice Lightsworn Archer, one Judgment Dragon. And then we continue with triple Goblinberg, one Trick Clown, one Electromagnetic Turtle, one Danger Nessie, Danger Jackalope, Danger Snake, and Danger Mothman. Followed by one Chaos Valkyria, one White Dragon Wyvern Buster, one Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, one Chaos Dragon Levianeer, and one the Chaos Creator. For the spells, short and simple, we play triple or Solar Recharge, triple Charge of the Light Brigade, triple Chaos Space, one Foolish Burial, one Reinforcement of the Army, and the single trap we play is one Twilight Eraser. For the extra deck, we start off with the XYZs and we play one Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn, one Abyss Dweller, one number 60 Degeles, one Dingrisu Orchist of the Evening Star. For the synchros, we play the one Borrelode Savage Dragon and the one Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. Then for the link monsters that we have focused a lot more on because they're just more consistent, we play the one IP Masquerena, the one Crystron Halifibrax, into the one Selene of the Master Magicians, one Nightmare Unicorn, followed by the boss monsters in the defensive route of Appaloosa, consistent route of Saruja, and an aggressive route of Access Code and Boral Sword Dragon, followed by the best disruptor in Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So now to go over the cards in depth. So no surprise here, we're playing triple Raiden Hand of the Lightsworn. Now this is your main Lightsworn, this is the main normal summon that you want to go with unless you've got a way of getting a Lightsworn in the graveyard and then you're just going to use Lumina as just free extending fodder. What Raiden actually adds to the deck itself is it's a warrior, so it's searchable by Reinforcement of the Army, it's a tuner as well, and it is a level 4. Plus, on his own, he has the ability to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard during the main phase. He will gain attack for each Lightsworn monster sent to the graveyard via 200 until the end of your opponent's turn. But the chances are he's not going to stay on the board for that long. If he is there during the end phase, you send an additional 2 cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. But the hopes are that Raiden is either going to mill cards to help your extenders play, or he's going to mill cards like Wolf that will then extend and summon themselves out. Now, Wolf is basically cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by a card effect, and if this card is sent to the from your deck to the graveyard, you get to special summon it. Now, technically, yes, you could search yourself for Chaos Space, I don't know why you would, But the idea is that through Foolish Burial, through Minerva, through Raiden, anything like that, if this card hits the graveyard by any means from the deck, he will summon himself as a free level 4 summon. He is a light, so he is easy discard fodder from the hand, but he can also be special summoned using Goblinberg, which is why I still like to very much use Goblinberg as well. These two are the only ones that are, in my opinion, 100% free ofs, because they're just so utilized in a Lightsworn deck that they both get you so much further. For the first two of in the deck, we've got 2 Lumina Lightsworn Summoner. This card, again, is absolutely amazing. So once per turn, you discard 1 card, then target 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard. Now, that is the full cost. So one thing that is very, very good about this card is that you can target the card you discard as long as you have a target in the grave already. So for example, if I've got Wolf in the grave, which is my legal target, and I discard Raiden from my hand, I can actually revive Raiden because I had a legal target in there to discard the Raiden, and I don't need to target before the discard. So you're able to bring back the card you send, which is why you have the ability of going Lumina, discard Raiden, revive Raiden, as long as there's another target in the graveyard, Raiden, Excavate 2, and then obviously if Raiden hits anything like that, great, and off you go. The only downside with Lumina is it is a level 3, so it doesn't actually help instigate your Minerva rank 4 plays, but it can offer you some Synchro level 7 plays, or in this particular version it will go into Halley Firebrax or a generic Link 2 in IP Masquerena. During the end phase, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. You must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. Now, this is a little bit, not dated, but it's a little bit more for pure Lightsworn and old school Lightsworns when you actually want to leave these cards on the board. But in this particular version, you don't want to be leaving them on the board. They're light targets for your Chaos fodder. You want to be able to link up, set up your Chaos plays, and off you go from there. For our next lot of 2-ofs, we now go into the Twilight Swans, and then we'll go back to the Light Swans in a bit. But we play 2 Lumina Twilight Swan Shaman. This is probably the best Twilight Swan card that we have. We're still missing, and I really am hoping that we're going to get a Wolf version of a Twilight Swan, and we're going to get a Raiden version of the Twilight Swan, because then that could really, really make the Twilight Swans themselves become their own deck, not to mention actually boost up this version of the deck. And what I like about this is being able to use the Twilight Swans as the dark version or the dark counterparts for the Chaos version. It just makes it feel a bit more natural, makes it feel more like a Lightsworn deck rather than a Rocket with a Lightsworn engine or a Chaos with a Lightsworn engine. I did used to like playing March of the Light Brigade, which I thought was really, really cool. The only thing is it did need a bit of setup, and it did fill up your banish zone. So that was more for a Twilight Lightsworn build than it is for a Chaos build. But what Lumina does is once per turn you banish 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, target one of your banished Lightsworn monsters except itself and special summon it. Once per turn, if another Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So what this allows you to trigger is technically if you were to go, let's say you already had a Twilight or a Lightsworn banished, okay, and you had a Lightsworn in the graveyard. What you could do is you could use the first Lumina to discard Lumina Twilight Swan. This would then use Lumina's effect to bring back the Twilight Swan. Twilight Swan can then banish the other Lightsworn that was in your graveyard. So let's say the other Lightsworn in the graveyard was Raiden. You then banish the Raiden, and as long as you've got like a Wolf or a Raiden already banished, you can then bring back that Raiden. So it then turns Lumina into a +2. Because then what you do is you bring the Raiden back, Raiden will then trigger his effect to mill 2, and then the Twilight Swan Shaman will then trigger to mill another 3. So technically you've milled 5 cards. It then gives you instant access to a rank 3, so if you wanted to be a Dante, you could reveal excavate another 3. But what is then good about this is these become a Levianeer, and then Levianeer can detach to bring back one of the other banished monsters that was left in the banish zone. So then if that was a Wolf, you then have rank 4 material for Minerva. Now, like I said, in this particular build, we have gone more Link focused, but that is something else that Levianeer, the Sea Dragon, and Dante are other cards you can put in just because you play this engine to make it more consistent. For the last 2 Twilight Swans, we do play the 1 Lila and the 1 Raikou. Now, the Raikou is just more of a defensive and an aggressive way of just banishing a card. So what this allows you to do is you get to banish 1 Lightsworn monster. If it is normal or flip face up, you get to banish 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, and then non-target banish 1 card on the field. And then if another Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you get to excavate the top 3 or send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Lila is once per turn when a spell or trap card or effect is activated. Quick effect, you banish a Lightsworn monster from your hand or graveyard, target 1 face-up spell trap on the field and destroy it. And then if another Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, because this is a once per turn when, what that allows you to do is it also allows you to trigger during your opponent's turn. Now, the other Lila is on an on-summon effect, or is a activate effect to shift her to defense, whereas this Lila, because it's a trigger effect, which is technically a quick effect, it just gives you a little bit more forms of disruption. So if you were to get Lila on the board, again, you're probably going to use her as Chaos fodder or XYZ fodder or Link fodder, but if she was to stay on the board, she then has the ability to disrupt your opponent. So if they're playing heavy back row, you still have the ability to quick effect to go, all right, cool, pop the card. And Raikou is another one of them ones where they're like, all right, okay, cool, I've got Dragoon, you've baited out Dragoon, excellent, you just go normal summon Raikou, banish it. So it's another way of getting rid of bad boards. Plus they're darks as well. You don't have to play these. The only one you really need to play, or I would advise playing highly, is the Lumina. But I still think these are really good to play in the Chaos version. Back to the Lightsworns, we've got the one Minerva Lightsworn Maiden. So when this card is normal summoned, you get to add one light dragon type monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to the number of your Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. Now, obviously, it's rare you're going to get 8. Now, I believe we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 different Lightsworns. So you're not going to be able to add JD, but what she can add is technically she can add, because it just adds a light dragon, she can add the White Wyvern Buster, which is a really nice little tech that a lot of people actually forget about. But if this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and then during each end phase, send an additional top 2 cards to the deck to the graveyard if she's on the field. But obviously, what she's going to be able to do is if she gets milled, she mills an additional one. She's a level 3 spellcaster tuner, which is really important because you can summon her out off of Halley Firebrax, and then Halley Firebrax can then go straight into Selene. Selene can then bring back that Minerva, which is the tuner, and then you can have the ability to go into access code. If you wanted to, you could play Artemis, the Moon Maiden, and by doing so, what that allows you to do is it then turns, rather than going into access code, you can go into Avramax. So if you don't have an access code, you can make that exact same play, but go into Avramax because you turn this into Artemis, and then go straight into your Avramax. What playing Artemis as well, the Moon Maiden does, the Link 1, what it allows you to do is it also allows you, if you only have a Lumina, you normally summon the Lumina, link it off, go into Artemis, and then that will set up your Chaos plays. Because then straight away, if you've opened up like one of the Chaos spaces, or you've opened up one of your Black Wyverns or White Collapses, you can then banish, summon it down, and you start doing Link 2 climbs and working from there. The last technically named Lightsworn card is Felice Lightsworn Archer. So again, can't be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by a card effect, which is again why we play Goblinberg. But if this card is sent specifically from the deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, so this is the one big difference between Felice and Wolf. This has to be sent by a monster effect. Wolf just needs to be sent in general. You can special summon this card. You can tribute this card, then type one monster your opponent tries to destroy that target, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So if you want a bit of an additional mill, you can then use Felice to do it. But ideally what you want to happen is Felice wants to be sent off of Minerva, either this one or the other Minerva, or wants to be sent via Raiden just to make it consistent and playable. It is another level 4 tuner. It is another Lightsworn name, which is why, in my opinion, 1 is all you need in the Chaos version. And then the technical last Lightsworn card itself is Judgment Dragon. Now, again, keep in mind, this is a level 8 card that cannot be normal summoned or set. So you can also search this off of Chaos Space, which is really, really nice consistency that, again, a lot of people forget. What you've got to keep in mind, though, is in order to search these cards, you do need to be sending a dark from the hand, which means you need to be sending your Twilight Swans or some of your dark Chaos monsters that we'll get to later on, or the dangers as you saw at the start. But the way I see it is Judgment Dragon, it kind of goes hand in hand with a Lightsworn deck. It is your boss monster. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, but you're only playing 1. What happens if you mill it? That's not an issue either. Because it's a level, because it's a light, you banish it with your Chaos monsters, and then Chaos Space can spin it back into the deck. And then by spinning it back into the deck, you have the ability to search it again through Chaos Space or just hard draw it. And then what you do is you can bring down Judgment Dragon. Judgment Dragon can then go, cool, pay 1,000 life points, send all the cards on the field to the graveyard. Then what you can do is you set up your graveyard for your Chaos plays, whether it be Levy and Near, whether it be Chaos Creator, whether it be the Dragons, it doesn't matter. You set up your graveyard, you then bring them out. Now, if you bring out Chaos Creator, not only can Chaos Creator bring back some of your banished monsters and shuffle them back into the deck and summon one of them, but because they are all level 8s, you can then attack with Judgment Dragon, attack with the Chaos Creator, and then in main phase 2, overlay it into a rank 8 of Dingrisu so that you don't have to excavate the top 4 cards of your deck. But if you do, at the end phase, this will then excavate the top 4 cards of your deck. Now, for those of you who don't know how you can special summon Judgment Dragon the normal way, you need to have 4 or more Lightsworn monsters in the graveyard with different names. So keep in mind, you've got the Twilight Swans as well that help contribute towards that name count. Because they say Twilight Swans, Lightsworn is in the name, so it works the exact same way as DD and DDDs. Continuing on with the monsters, just in general extenders, you got the Goblin Berg. Now, I spoke to you how important this was. A lot of things with Light Swans that makes them a little bit difficult, and it gets better if Snow ever came back. But you need the ability to get into a rank 4. Like, it's not as consistent to get a free extender nowadays in general, because you go Raiden. If Raiden from 2 out of what would then be 35 cards left, if Raiden does not mill the correct card or does not mill an extender, or you don't open up an extender, you're not going anywhere. That's your turn end, because you've got no way of turning Raiden into something else. Now, in the past, that was absolutely fine because the game was a lot slower, whereas now you're probably going to get OTK'd the next turn, which is why Goblin Berg is very important. The other thing with Goblin Berg as well is it does also allow you to bring out your Felice, and it does also allow you to bring out your Wolf from the hand. So if you do brick on them, you do have ways of getting them to the board, and you can instantly overlay into a Minerva, and your Minerva is going to be an excavation free. So if you open up Goblin Berg plus your Raiden, you're then going to have the ability for Raiden to excavate, or technically you end up excavating 5 cards. And keep in mind with Minerva, if you excavate any Lightsworn, she draws cards equal to the number of Lightsworns with different names you've milled. So that's obviously going to be a good bonus too. And on top of that, Goblin Berg is searchable by Reinforcement of the Army, so it does count as a 4th copy. Another extender we have is Trick Clown. Like, every deck that ever excavates or sends from deck to graveyard a light monster is going to be playing Trick Clown, because if you were to excavate off of Raiden, if you were to Foolish Burial, if you were to send off a Minerva, send off of absolutely anything, you pay 1,000 life points, it comes back to the board, instant rank 4 plays. My little tech of Electromagnetic Turtle. Now, not a lot of people play this anymore. Completely understandable, completely fine. But during your opponent's battle phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard, end the battle phase. This is a quick effect, and you can only use the effect once per duel. Now, what makes this so cool is, yes, it's a light target. It's very rare you actually want to banish it for a Chaos Monsters effect. But by burying this in your graveyard, a lot of people forget about it, and they go, right, cool, I'm going to make Boral Sword, I'm going to make Access Code, I'm going to tap directly for game. And you go, okay, fine. Access Code, declare an attack for 5,300. You go, alright, Electromagnetic Turtle. And they go, what? And as they've put so much resource into finishing the turn finishing the game that turn, that they've taken away their negates to go for their boss monsters, they forget about Electromagnetic Turtle, and you're just like, yep, cool, I'm going to win next turn now. And it doesn't need to be a direct attack. It's just just during the battle phase. So they don't even need to attack, and it just ends the battle phase outright. So very, very important, very, very powerful. Now I'm going to talk about the next 4 cards as an engine. So you've got your Danger Mothman, you've got your Danger Sneak, and you've got your Danger Jackalope alongside your Danger Nessie. Now, what makes the Danger so good in this deck is, yes, they are darks, so they help contribute to the other side of the Chaos Engine as well. But what these are so good at is they can technically excavate or mill from the hand. So if they're successfully summoned, you'll then get a draw. You'll then send from the deck to from your hand. And then if they're sent to the graveyard, there are dark capabilities that then provide more additional plays by either getting you a search, a summon from the deck, a summon in itself, or both players draw and discard. On top of that, of course, they are obviously got level 4s here, you've got 2 level 3s here, so that can obviously help you make your rank 3 plays. This can help you make your rank 4 plays, but again, they're probably going to be used to make your XYZ plays. Not XYZ plays, sorry, your Link plays. Now, one thing you didn't see in my extra deck was Curious. Technically, I'm not playing Curious in this one, purely because I just feel it's better to link line. My strategy of this deck is to play a little bit differently. So if you want to play Curious, you can do. You can then go for the Christia play as well. But again, I want it to be a bit different. I didn't want to be, cool, Christia, pass, GG, bro. Like, I wanted to actually have fun with this deck. And this is one thing that I absolutely love about this deck is it's one of them decks that you'll know if your luck's in. And you'll know if your luck's out. So if you're having a really bad lucky day, do not play this deck. If you're having a really good day and like you're just getting so lucky, then play this deck, because it's so amazing to just go excavate, boom, you hit exactly what you need. And back in the day when your back was up against the wall and you were able to go, okay, mill, and you hit the snow, it was like the best thing ever. So yeah, Dangers really help, and what they also allow you to do is they help you bait out cards, they help you extend for free, and they also help that if your opponent has broken your board or stopped your summon or impermed or veilered your Goblin Berg, these still have abilities to resolve to then get another monster on board to let you play through that particular disruption. For the Chaos Monsters, we'll start off with the lower levels. So you've got the one Valkyrie, the one Wyvern Buster, and the one Black Collapse. These two are pretty much self-explanatory, search each other out and work their ways around. The reason we've gone with the Chaos Valkyrie is because she requires you to banish a light or dark. So she'll always be live, where it's better off rather than opening up a card that says, I need to banish a dark and you've got none, or I need to banish a light and you've got none. For the boss monsters of the Chaos cards, you've got the Chaos Dragon Legionnaire and you've got your Chaos Creator. Like I said, if you do excavate these with Chaos Space, you have the ability to shuffle these back into the deck, so it's not the end of the world. But obviously with Legionnaire, you've got the ability to banish all darks, all lights, or both lights and darks. So this can then become an extender, a rip from hand, or a board destroyer. And then you've got Chaos Creator, which in my opinion is probably one of the best Chaos monsters ever created. I absolutely love this card. So you banish a light and dark, special summon this card, and if it was special summoned from your hand, you can target 3 banished monsters with different names, special summon one of them, and then place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. So you're going to be banishing so much, it doesn't negate their effects or anything. So if you were banishing off your Raiden, you can then bring back your Raiden, or if you were banishing off your Lumina, because Lumina isn't an on-summon effect, you can then discard to bring back a card and just continue to extend your board from there. So Chaos Creator, just on his own, has the ability to unlock a full-on extension chain that can get you into all of your Link monsters, can get you into XYZ plays, and just go from there. And as I mentioned, they're level 8s as well, so they give you the rank 8 possibility for Ding as you move further forward. So that's it for the monster lineup. There are a couple of other Chaos cards you could look into. There's like the white fairy, that it just requires you, it's not hard once per turn, and you just banish a light monster from the graveyard. But ultimately, I thought this lineup was perfect. I didn't want to overdo the Chaos because I quite like the Twilights within this involvement, and that's how I like to work this deck. For the spells, we've got triple solar recharge. You will always, well, I do anyway, you will always draw the card you want to mill and mill the card you want to draw. Like, it's just a given. Like, it should say this on the card. But, so good. Discard 1 Lightsworn. So yes, you can discard a Twilight Sworn because it does have a Lightsworn monster. Draw 2 cards, then send top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. It's like perfect. It's like not much more needs to be said about that. And then you've got triple charge of the Light Brigade. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard and then add 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck. So again, you can add your Twilight Swans, but you're also going to be going for your Raiden. You're going to be going for your Lumina if you already have a Raiden. And then the idea is that excavating the top 3 cards of your deck, you're going to be putting a Lightsworn in the graveyard. So literally just charge of the Light Brigade plus, like, let's say a Raiden can get you so much combo, because as long as you charge and mill a Lightsworn, you can then go Lumina, discard Raiden, bring back Raiden, excavate 2. And that's not saying that if you ended up milling, because you mill first, so you can then adapt what you're going to search. So if you milled like a light Lumina or a dark Lumina, you can then adapt your plays on how you want to go forward. And it's such a good card. Chaos Space, love this card as well. Again, one of the best cards to come out in Toon Chaos, in my opinion. So you send 1 light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, add 1 light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set from a deck with a level between 4 and 8. Now you have a lot of targets in the deck. The chances are you're probably going to go for your White Wyvern Buster or your Black Collapse first. But then if you're going for your boss monsters, you've got your Chaos Creator, you've got your Legionnaire. And if you've already got a Judgment Dragon play set up, then you just search out Judgment Dragon. It's great. It has to be a different attribute from the one you send. So obviously if you send a dark, you search out Judgment Dragon or Wyvern Buster. If you send a light, you search out Chaos Creator, Legionnaire, or of course go into your Black Collapse. And then what makes this card so good is you can banish this card from the graveyard, target one of your banished light or dark monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set, place that monster on the bottom of the deck, then draw 1 card. So again, by putting it on the bottom of the deck, it kind of guarantees you're not going to excavate it. Puts a Judgment Dragon back onto the bottom of the deck, lets you draw 1 card that guarantees you're not going to draw the card you just put back, and then you're good to go from again. Foolish Burial, free extender. Send Trick Clown, send Wolf, you're good to go. Reinforcement in the army, search out your Goblinberg, search out your Raiden, again, good to go. And then the one little tech, this makes it a 41 card deck, but you can take it out completely, is Twilight Eraser. I really like this card in the sense that if you control 2 or more Lightsworn monsters with the same type, but different names, banish 2 Lightsworn monsters from your graveyard, type 2 cards on the field, and then banish them. Now obviously this is only going to activate if you've got the Light Lumina and the Dark Lumina on board. But by doing that, in the end phase, Lumina, you're technically going to excavate 6, which is great, and you're only going to leave those 2 on the board like that if you have the Eraser in play. But what we're actually using the Eraser a bit more consistently for is if this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard by a Lightsworn monster's effect, you can special summon 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand. So again, it's just another way of a free extender, but it also has a quite powerful effect to set up as a trap card. Like I said, it makes it a 41 card deck, so you can easily take this card out if you're not a fan of it. I just think it's a nice little tech that not a lot of people expect. And another thing that you could play in here, which I was playing around with, is I was playing with Shade Brigandine, because you don't play any traps. So if you open up Shade Brigandine, great. The only downside is if you excavate a Shade Brigandine, you then can't resolve a Shade Brigandine. Moving on to the extra deck, of course, we've got the one Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. What more needs to be said about this card? One is all you really need. It does count as another name in the graveyard for JD. You can play it at 2 if you want, but it's 2 level 4 monsters. Detach 1 material from this card, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by this effect. If this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, and send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by this effect. Only use the effect once per turn. Best rank 4 right now, like Abyss Dweller, could be Tornado Dragon, can be Bagoose, can be anything you want, but Abyss Dweller is just out and out the best in my opinion right now. Daguerre's, not only does it give you the ability to get an additional 2 draws and then discard to set up your graveyard, but it can also give you the ability to bring back a monster from the graveyard, or you can skip the battle phase and then double the attack of one monster you control, so it just kind of increases your chance of OTK. So it gives you aggression, extension, defension. Not even that defension is a word, but, you know, new word for Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we've got Ding, the Orchestra of the Evening Star. Like I said, this is probably the best rank 8 you can make. You can look at other rank 8s as well, depending on what you play. But what Ding allows you to do is it gives you that non-target send, and it also gives you that ability of being able to protect your stuff from destruction. So once you've done the JD board clear, once you've done the Chaos attack, make this. Chances are you probably won the duel from that point, but if you haven't, make Ding so you don't excavate the top cards of your deck, and then you've got the play set up ready to go again. For the synchros, you've got Savage Dragon, quite straightforward and explained on that one. You're probably going to be going through Link Monsters already, so getting a Link Monster to the graveyard and then make Savage is going to be completely fine. You could if you want to, but again, you need to get a Water to the graveyard, play the Dragite. And then the best synchro monster for the deck is, of course, your Chaos Ruler. Generic, level 8, Dragon, Dark. If this card is synchro signed, you excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated light or dark monster to your hand, and then send the remaining cards to the graveyard. You can banish 1 light and 1 dark monster from your hand and or graveyard, except this card, and special summon this card from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Only use the effect once per turn. So again, Recursion, Extension, and Foolish Burial all in one card. This is the first synchro you're probably going to want to go to, unless you already made a Link Monster and you're trying to protect from like Nibiru or anything like that, then you'll go with Savage. Then for the generic Link Monsters, you've got IP Masquerena. I just think being able to end on this just puts your opponent in such a situation because they know it's going to lead into some form of disruption. Whether it be going into a Nightmare Unicorn, an Appaloosa, or even Underworld of the Goddess. And right now, so many people don't even expect you to have Underworld of the Goddess, that when you do drop it on them, they're like, you go IP Masquerena and like, alright, what are you going to do? Make a unicorn? Fine. I'll let you make a unicorn and then I'll negate it with a Macabre. And you go, right, cool. I'm going to use your Macabre, I'm going to use all my monsters, and I'm going to go into Underworld of the Goddess. And they go, what? Wait, hang on. No, wait. Oh, too late. So, very good card. Christian Halifibrax. Again, the only reason you're playing this is purely to go Raiden, Lumina into this, summon out Minerva from the deck. Minerva, Halifibrax into Selene. Selene brings back Minerva, go into Axis Code. There's your game there. Or that's just a very, very quick route to go into a 2-negate Appaloosa. Speaking of which, there is Selene for that exact play, and then obviously Unicorn to come off your IP Masquerena. For your Link 4s, you've got your defensive option of Appaloosa. You've got your extensive option of Saruja. This can easily be Curious if you want it to be. And then you've got your aggressor of Borosword, just to win you game without having to worry about the different attributes in graveyard. Access Code to also win you game. And again, Access Code just gives you, even if you're not using it to banish materials from the graveyard, but straight away, just by going into Selene, you already got a light in grave, he's already gaining 3,000 attack. You've got a light and a dark, or a light in graveyard to be banished. Otherwise, you're going to banish this to pop a card, and then he's swinging in for 5-3. So then if you're building this up with other Chaos Monsters, you're pretty much going to get game. And then Underworld of the Goddess, I just think it's such a crazy cool card. Really like it. Doesn't need to be played. It's just a tech that I like playing, or it's just a card that I like playing in this deck. So it's definitely something you can cut completely if you're not a fan of it. But I quite like the idea of it. And this can easily be a Phoenix. It can be a Cerberus. It can be anything you want. It can be a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. It can be a Cyphane Lord Omega. Entirely up to you. This is just a personal touch that I really like in the deck. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that for the Lightsworn Lightsworn Chaos. I hope you like this. I hope it's given you a couple of ideas for your own particular build or own changes to the build. I wanted to make it a little bit different. If you wanted to make this like a 60 card version, that can easily be done. By doing so, you'd be adding in the 20 more cards, would just be general free extenders alongside like other stuff like Monster Gate and cards like that, just help you extend or help increase your consistency and go further forward from there. But for now, as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.